YouTube channel. Welcome back to our continuation of our session on William Penn. As you know, yesterday we started to talk a little bit about William Penn and his life in Great Britain under the rule of King Charles II. Today we're going to continue that and wrap up with starting to talk about the Constitution of Pennsylvania and our frame of government. So I just want to begin with just a few things that I started with last week just to remind you. First of all, email. Please feel free to email me. My email address is chadandrewgeorge@hotmail.com. It's all lowercase, all one word. Facebook is Chad Andrew George, 3 separate words. Feel free to leave a comment on that. I'm also posting the YouTube videos on that. It may not happen the day of the video, but it will happen. And the website, we are working on the website. I have it about done. I was working a little bit today, so I'm hoping next week we can get that published so that there's another medium to get out that civics education and all of that. So there's a lot going on. Next week, we again will do the 2 video posts. One will be on Tuesday, the other one on Wednesday. On Tuesday, we're going to delve more into the Constitution. And then on Wednesday, we're going to talk more about Pennsylvania government. I'm going to try to do 3 different videos that we're going to talk about the legislature in one. We're going to talk about the executive branch in another. And we'll talk about the Unified Judicial Code in a third one. And I'm hoping to fit in some kind of current event in there also in February. So we got a lot going on here. So I hope that you will join me. I hope that you're passing this on to your family and friends to catch our videos, because it is important to have an educated society in order to have a betterment of society. So let's delve right into talking more about William Penn and wrapping this up before we begin to talk about state government, which is far more interesting than talking about William Penn, I'm sure. Yesterday we came across several different people in our talks. We came across King Charles II, we came across William Penn, we came across Hannah Penn, and we came across William Meade. Remember, William Meade is who William Penn was arrested with when he was preaching on the street. And you could even say that we came across Oliver Cromwell as well. We didn't really talk about him much, but and the Puritans, you could say, and the Quakers, which were all people that we came across yesterday in our discussion. So now William Penn has decided that it's time for him to change the course of his life, and he saw that things in England were getting way out of control. They were just deteriorating. So Penn knew he had to do something, and he had to do something quickly. So he approached King Charles and said he had an idea. So now we're in the founding of Pennsylvania. So we're in the founding of Pennsylvania. So he approaches King Charles and he says, King, I have a solution. I'm going to have a mass immigration of the English Quakers. So he wants all the Quakers to leave England, which was a big step. I mean, these were English people, but William Penn had a home but didn't have a home. Yes, he was born an Englishman, and he died an Englishman. But he didn't like what he saw there and what he saw as the rigidity of English society, particularly with the Church of England, which he called hypocrites, and the Catholic Church, in which he called whores of Babylon. So those two groups he knew he could not live with, because the Quaker religion was never adopted. People didn't feel, they didn't have a misunderstanding of the Quakers. The Quakers were not as pure as the Puritans, but they still had simple beliefs. And that is where the people in England just didn't get them. So in 1677, of course, King Charles agreed. It gets the Quakers out of England, which and particularly Penn, who was a thorn in his side at the moment. So in 1677, prominent Quakers, including William Penn, purchased the colonial province of West Jersey. So West Jersey, of course, is modern day, what? New Jersey. So what Penn decided to do is he's going to press his case to extend the Quaker region. So to the surprise of Penn, King Charles granted him a charter. And it actually made William Penn the largest private landowner with 45,000 miles. So now William Penn owns all of this property. So now Penn left England. Penn and a group of English Quakers purchased the colonial province of West Jersey. And now King Charles gave Penn land. Not small amount of land, 45,000 acres, or 45,000 miles of land. So now we're at the place of, well, what's Penn going to call this land? We didn't know, Penn didn't know what he was going to call this land. So let's take a look at what happened and what Penn really wanted to call. Penn, what to call it? That was Penn's conundrum. What are we going to call this land? Well, Penn decided that he's going to call it, at first, Penn called it New Wales. The New Wales is very British. New Wales. And then he decided, well, I don't like New Wales, so I'm going to call it Sylvania, which means woods. Sylvania. So these were Penn's names. These are attributed to what Penn wanted to call it. Enter King Charles and his charter. King Charles in his charter changed it to Pennsylvania in honor of Penn's father, Admiral Penn. So now you have King Charles, who decided, I'm going to grant you a charter, but when I grant you the charter, I'm going to grant it as Pennsylvania. I don't like at all what you called it. I'm going to call it Pennsylvania. And that's what he did. That's what he did. So now we have a charter, or we have a name. Our state has now been named. We're now Pennsylvania. So now we have to take a look at the charter itself. Now we have to take a look at the charter itself. King Charles II signed the charter on March 4th, 1681. That's our birthday as a Commonwealth. March 4th, 1681. And I really want to direct you to a quote that I came across in researching to do this, which I really find as a very nice quote and a fitting quote. This is what Penn wrote when the charter was signed on March 4th, 1681. It is a clear and just thing, and my God, who has given it me through many difficulties, will, I believe, bless and make it the seed of a nation. In 1682, in England, he drew up a frame of government for Pennsylvania colony, in which he talked about the freedom to worship, to be absolute, and that all the traditional rights of Englishmen were carefully safeguarded. Penn drafted a charter of liberties for the settlement, creating a political utopia guaranteeing free and fair trial by jury, freedom of religion, and freedom from unjust imprisonment and free elections, which are very reminiscent on not only what's in our U.S. Constitution, but also what's in the state constitution as well. So, in 1682, Penn did his frame of government. His frame of government, pretty much the same, and we can really take pride in that that Pennsylvania has the oldest state constitution. It goes back to that 1682 date, which is pretty awesome when you think about it. I talked yesterday at the end of our video about Charter Day, that I really think it's a great benefit to go to Charter Day. It is awesome. You know, I don't know the exact date, which I'll get it and I'll put it on my website, on my Facebook page, on when Charter Day is. But Charter Day is really an important thing to take kids to, or even for us as adults. We should continuously be learning. And it's any state museum across this Commonwealth that will do free admission for that weekend. Even if you don't want to go up for Charter Day, if you want to go up and see the replica of the charter, admission to the state library or the state museum is only like $5. And you see the planetarium, you see dinosaurs, you see stuff from our political era. Great big statue of William Penn in the rotunda. It's very awesome, and really everyone should go to it at least once to experience it. So we're going to move on now, and excuse me as I erase our board and start going into what we're going to talk about next, which is the Pennsylvania Constitution. And we're going to talk a little bit about state government. And this is definitely where I have my interest. I absolutely love civics. I think it's a real loss that it's not taught in our schools today. I think that if kids do not have a basic understanding on how government works, it is perilous. So many kids today do not know how a bill becomes a law. Many of our kids today no longer go to their state capital on field trips as I did as a kid, as my parents did as a kid. It's a real loss. And that is one reason why I decided to do this YouTube channel, just not to talk about politics, but to cover an overall topic about history and news, which a lot of our young people do not understand today, which is a real loss. So we're going to talk a little bit about state government, and we're just going to start it. We're not going to get it done. We're about 16, 17 minutes into the video. But at least I want to at least get a premise on what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about is the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is pretty thick compared to our U.S. Constitution, which is only a few pages. The state constitution is meant to be thick because it encompasses the rights of the state. And we hear a lot of talk about the 10th Amendment of the United States Constitution. It all goes back to this. And that's been the real argument, if you follow current events, concerning the Health Care Act, is so many people were talking about how it infringed on the 10th Amendment, which said anything that's not enumerated within the U.S. Constitution must be given back to the states for them to deal with. And I've been a big proponent of the 10th Amendment. I'm a Democrat. I'm a proud Democrat. But sometimes I feel that my party has gone a little too far with infringing on states' rights. So you'll hear me talk a lot about 10th Amendment because it's something I strongly believe in. I believe that there's big debate about making the General Assembly a part-time legislature. I think Congress could be a part-time legislature. The Pennsylvania General Assembly could be a full-time legislature if everything that the states took, or everything that the federal government has taken from the states, would be given back to the states. There would be more than enough work for the General Assembly to keep them working 5 days a week around the clock. So that's just my little diatribe for today. But we're going to talk about the state government and how it's laid out. And you'll see there's a lot of similarities between the state government and the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution was actually based off of Pennsylvania's Constitution. And many of the constitutions were actually based off of the state Constitution. Our state government is organized first by a legislative branch. The legislative branch is made up of 203 House members and is made up of 50 Senate members. These are 2-year terms, and the Senate is 4-year terms. Every 2 years, the House is up. Every 2 years, half of the Senate is up. Now, you will hear the debate that is happening. I think it's been kind of quashed since the election, but there's been a big debate about taking both of these numbers and decreasing them more of the House, saying that 203 is rather large. We have one of the largest full-time state legislatures in the country. But we're also a large state, not compared to California, Texas, or Florida, like New York and Florida. But we are a large state. We're the 3rd or 4th largest state of the Union. So we have the legislative branch. Again, very similar to that. And this is actually covered under Article 1 of the state constitution. B would be our executive. Our executive branch, which is Article 4 of the Constitution. The executive branch is made up of several people. It is made up, of course, of the governor. The governor is elected 4-year terms, 2-term limit. Along with the governor is a lieutenant governor. Lieutenant governor is elected on his own in the primary. Once the Democrats and Republicans have chosen their candidate for lieutenant governor, it runs on the ticket with whomever won the gubernatorial nomination for their respective parties. So in this last election in 2014, Tom Corbett ran for renomination and Jim Coley ran for renomination. Once Jim Coley won his party's nomination, he ran on the ticket with Tom Corbett. Had Joe Schmo won the nomination for lieutenant governor, Joe Schmo would have become the running mate of Tom Corbett and Coley would have been defeated. The same happened with Tom Wolf. Tom Wolf ran for his party's nomination for governor. Mike Stack, State Senator Mike Stack, ran for his nomination for lieutenant governor of the Democrat Party. They both won their respective nominations, and Mike Stack, State Senator Mike Stack, became the running mate of Governor Tom Wolf. Now there has been some push, not so much now, but our former lieutenant governor, the late Catherine Baker Knoll, was a big proponent of allowing the governor to choose who he or she wanted as a running mate, very similar to how presidents choose their vice presidential running mate. It's never gotten off the ground. I have great hope that it will down the road, but at this point it doesn't seem like it's likely. And again, they're limited again, every 4-year terms, 2-term limit. And when they're up for re-election, they got to do that again. They got to run separately. And hopefully both get renominated and hopefully both win re-election. But there's also 2 other people within that. You have the Attorney General. Attorney General, again, 4-year terms. And I should really say that these are all 4-year terms, 2-term limit. All of these in the executive branch. The Attorney General, the Treasurer, which was in the news this week, Treasurer McCord resigned because he is pleading guilty to a felony charge, and he is excuse me. So he has to resign. Excuse me. So we have a new treasurer here, and his last name is Craig, and we have the Auditor General. The Attorney General, before the 1968 Constitution, which is the current Constitution, the Attorney General was actually chosen by the governor. It was similar to how it is on the federal level. But they decided they wanted 3 watchdog individuals to be independently elected. The power of the purse is held by the treasurer. It is not held by the legislature like it is on the federal level. The treasurer is the one that pays the bills and monitors the money of the state government. So they're very powerful. If you are treasurer and you want to run for Auditor General, you can't do that. Because technically you're auditing your own work, possibly. So you can be Auditor General, and then, or you can be Treasurer, or you can be Auditor General and then run for Treasurer. That's fine. You can't be Treasurer and then run for Auditor General. And if you are appointed, if someone resigns, like McCord resigned, Rob McCord resigned, there will be an appointment. Governor Wolf will appoint his successor, which will be confirmed by the state senate. That individual who is appointed by the governor cannot run next year when the seat is open. It has to be someone else. That's not in the Constitution, but it is in statute. So we'll do that. If you remember when Senator Casey resigned from Treasurer, Governor Rendell appointed Robin Weiss or Weissman, I can't remember what, that became the Treasurer and filled out the rest of Senator Casey's term. So that's the legislative and the executive branch of government. The next branch that you have, so you have legislative, you have executive. The next branch of government you have, and I'm just going to continue it over on the other side, and I might have to squeeze it in here a little, is you have the judicial, which, the judicial branch. The judicial branch is made up of several individual courts. You have the Supreme Court. You have the Superior Court. You have the Commonwealth Court, which is just new in the '68 Constitution. The Commonwealth Court's going to hear cases like fracking, those kind of cases. Superior Court's going to hear stuff about corporate greed and tax loophole cases involving the Delaware loophole, stuff like that. That's what they're going to hear. And then you have the Court of Common Pleas, which is your county courts. They're the ones that are going to hear your civil and your criminal matters. They're the ones, if you get if you're arrested, you're going to go to Court of Common Pleas. They have both civil and criminal. And these are all elected. Superior courts are elected. 10-year terms. You're up for retention after 10 years. The interesting thing when it comes to our judicial is it has a mandatory retirement age of 70. So at 70, you must retire. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You can continue in the Court of Common Pleas as serving as a resident judge. In other words, if all the other judges are busy, a retired judge can hear a jury case or can hear motions. But they can no longer sit as a president judge or sit as an everyday judge. And in the judicial branch is something that, again, was fairly new, which was new in the 1968 Constitution, which is called the minor judiciary, which is what most people, I would say, have probably been through once or twice in their life. The minor judiciary are your district magistrates. How that came about, and this is where we're going to leave it today, how that came about was our courts were filled. And that's one reason why we only had the Supreme Court and the Superior Court. There was a need to start looking at our judiciary. And that is when we came up with the term of a unified judiciary. A unified judiciary. What the unified judiciary did, which is, going over here, is all of this. This and this were new in 1968. And what it was to get some of the, to really clear the dockets. They said, why should the Court of Common Pleas be inundated with cases that are very simple, that maybe we only are going to sit for 5, 10, 20 minutes? Why can't we train somebody to do it? So they created the minor judiciary. The minor judiciary are your district magistrates. Used to be called justices of the peace. Your district magistrates can do everything that a judge can do with the exception of trial and sentencing. So in other words, if you get a parking ticket and you want to challenge the parking ticket, before 1968, you would have gone to the Court of Common Pleas, and that poor judge would have sat through a very simple 5-10 minute trial possibly. Now what you do is, if you are going to contest your ticket, you're going to go to the minor judiciary, and that individual who is elected will hear the case. They will also set bail. In other words, they will hold preliminary hearings. If you are arrested, you will go to a district magistrate. And the district magistrate will do a preliminary hearing and set your bail. The district magistrate can marry. The district magistrate does not have to be an attorney. Most district magistrates you will see are in law enforcement. They're either attorneys or they are police officers. That's what a majority of them are, but you don't have to be. There is a 6 or 8 week class that you take after you are elected that kind of gives you a quick lesson on how to be a district magistrate. And you are answerable to the Court of Common Pleas. So whoever the president judge is for the Court of Common Pleas, that is who you are answerable to as a district magistrate. If there is a problem, like right now in Lancaster, we have a district magistrate that was in some trouble concerning fixing her own parking tickets. Now she's in trouble again. The president judge of the Commonwealth Court can remove her from the bench while the investigation continues. When there is a vacancy in the minor judiciary, the president judge is the one that chooses chooses their replacement. Same way with if there is a vacancy in a county office, such as a county commissioner, the Court of Common Pleas appoints the person. Now, if there is a vacancy in the Supreme Court, the Superior Court, or the Commonwealth Court, the governor, with Senate confirmation, appoints an individual, and they can serve and go under an election if they so choose. So, minor judiciary follows under the same thing as the Supreme Court, the Superior Court, the Commonwealth Court, and the Court of Common Pleas, mandatory retirement age at 70. So, as I said, minor judiciary will hear everything, and the word says it, minor. They're going to hear traffic tickets. They're going to hear landlord-tenant disputes. They're going to hear accident disputes. They're going to hear dog issues. They're going to pet issues. They're going to hear about fighting issues. That's what they're going to hear. And some on the criminal side, they're going to hear preliminary hearings, and those arrested will go before the district magistrate to be arraigned and to be held over for a preliminary hearing or a bail set. So that and bad check charges would also go under minor judiciary as well. So what it did was it freed up the Court of Common Pleas, just as the creation of the Commonwealth Court freed up the Superior Court to handle issues. So the Superior Court and the Commonwealth Court have different jurisdictions now compared to the Superior Court, listening to a whole list of things. When it goes to the Supreme Court, it's a major issue. It's something that can only be addressed by the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So folks, that's where we're going to leave it today, and where we're going to leave it this week. I thought I would post a video tomorrow. I don't think I will. If I have time, I will. But I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. I hope you find this informative. I hope you're at least learning a few things. I hope I get better at doing the videos. I know I'm not the best doing videos, but I will get better, and I hope that we can have a real dialogue. I really hope that you'll pass this on to other people so that they can see it. This is something that is interesting, and it's something that, you know, we can interject in our everyday living. You know, this affects you every single day. So, as I said, tomorrow or next week we'll continue. I think we'll probably spend at least the next session on the Constitution. I have several more things, and then we'll get into talking about the branches of government a little bit more. But I do want to leave you with the Constitution, with the preamble. The Constitution starts with a preamble very similar to the preamble of the United States Constitution. And this is where I'm going to leave you because on Tuesday we're going to delve into the Constitution, the actual text. It says, "We, the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, grateful to Almighty God for the blessings of civil and religious liberty, and humbly invoking His guidance, do ordain and establish this Constitution." And then under Article 1, under the Declaration of Rights, it says that the general, great, and essential principles of liberty and free government may be recognized and unalterably established. We declare. If that doesn't give you goosebumps, I don't know what will. You know, the Constitution the state Constitution is meant to be amended. It's not a perfect document. It's a working document. It's not amended often, but as you can see the thickness, I showed it to you earlier, this thickness of this document shows that the rights of the people are protected. This covers the environment. It covers education. It covers the courts. It covers city government. It covers county government. It covers state government. It covers everything. And that is what I hope to instill in you, that this is a relevant document. As much as the U.S. Constitution is, so is the Constitution of the Great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So again, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. Keep checking Facebook and for updates. And I hope to see you on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you so much.